Hello. The second process under initiation is identify stakeholders. Identify stakeholders. This is very critical, especially for global project management, where stakeholders are distributed across multiple locations. Now, the first step, let us see the definition of a stakeholder. So that is anybody who is affected positively or negatively by doing a project or by delaying a project. Delaying a project can be treated as a stakeholder. Anybody who is affected positively or negatively by doing a project or by delaying or not doing a project can be treated as a stakeholder. From a project perspective, the typical stakeholders could be the project managers, the team members, the sponsors, customer, suppliers, regulatory bodies, even competitors, can be the locals, government agencies. So the list can be elaborate and will vary from project to project. So a stakeholder is anybody who is affected positively or negatively by doing a project or by not doing a project or by delaying a project can be treated as a stakeholder. Now, the inputs for stakeholder management. We have the project charter coming in. The project charter is an input. Procurement documents. The contract signed, the statement of work, all these things can become an input for identifying stakeholders. Then the enterprise environmental factors. Enterprise like the monsoon season, the summer season, the winter season, the government laws, the waste disposal norms, the regulatory bodies, the trade unionism. So all these things may be good pointers for identifying the stakeholders. Then the organizational process assets like historical data, historical information about the past projects, lessons learned from past projects, the vendor rating systems, the risk management data from past projects. So all these things will be useful while identifying the stakeholder. The first step in identifying this, after identifying the stakeholders, is to come out with a stakeholder register. Stakeholder register. So this is a list of stakeholders. And this is very dynamic in nature because the stakeholders can vary from phase to phase of a project. And once the stakeholders are identified, the next step is classifying the stakeholders based on their interest in the project and the power of the stakeholders to influence the project. So here it is high interest, here it is low, here it is high. So we will have a set of stakeholders who have a lot of interest in the project and they have a lot of power to influence the project. So they will come in here. So these are the high power, high interest group. They must be managed very, very closely. Then there can be another segment of the stakeholders who have a lot of power, but they do not have a lot of interest in your project. They are high power, low interest stakeholders. Maybe here the sponsor and all will be definitely this high power, high interest, whereas maybe the CEO of the client could be high interest, high power, low interest, because he may have a lot of other projects to deal with. So you may not give exclusive attention to your project alone. Then there can be a segment which is high interest, low power, maybe the typical end users, and also they will fall into this category. And we should have strategies to deal with them. And then there could be a set of stakeholders who doesn't have any interest in your project, and their power to influence your project is also very less. So they can be just ignored. So this segment, this high power, high interest group, must be given at least the maximum visibility into the project, whereas like a weekly report must go to them, whereas this high power, low interest group should get a monthly update, and maybe the high interest, low power group, you should include them into your beta programs and all, because their expectations also should be managed. So there is a saying in project management that the project is successful if the stakeholders are managed well from the start of the project till the end of the project. Now, another tool apart from the stakeholder analysis that is used for stakeholder identification is the expert judgment. So you are an expert in that particular area in this type of projects, then okay, expert judgment will come in handy. Then comes meetings, is also a tool for stakeholder identification, and the output is the stakeholder register and the prioritized list of stakeholders based on high power, high interest, high power, low interest, low power, low interest, and low power, high interest. So that is the first step in stakeholder management, which is stakeholder identification, and this is the second process under project initiation. So we spoke about the definition of a stakeholder, then we spoke about the inputs to stakeholder management, then we spoke about the tools and techniques for stakeholder identification and classification. There we spoke about these 4 segments of stakeholders: high power, high interest, high power, low interest, low power, low interest, and low power, high interest classification, and then development of project strategies. After listening to this video, if you can read from page number 393 to page number 398 of the Project Management Body of Knowledge version 5, these things are in print there, and that will make your knowledge complete. Thank you very much.